Let's start with something that almost doesn't sound real. Airbnb is worth more than $75 billion. They generate over $8 billion in revenue. They have more than 7 million places listed around the world across more than 220 countries and regions. And they do all of that without owning a single property. Not one. Most people look at Airbnb and assume they won because they were early, or because they were trendy, or because travel was exploding, but none of that explains how strangers go from total skepticism to happily staying in someone else's home. Here's the truth most people overlook. Airbnb did not scale because of design or advertising. They scaled because they engineered trust, layer by layer, system by system, decision by decision. And today, I'm breaking down the 7 trust frameworks that helped them build a business that reshaped travel forever. More importantly, I'll show you exactly how each of these frameworks can be applied to your own business, whether you run an agency, a coaching program, an e-commerce brand, a SaaS product, or even a local service business. If you want to increase conversions, attract better customers, and build a brand people come back to, this might be the most valuable video you watch this month. Let's dive in. Framework 1. Verified identity. Back in 2008, Airbnb had a brutal problem. People simply didn't trust each other. They were scared of getting scammed. They were scared of strangers. They were scared of the unknown. Buying something on Craigslist already felt risky, so sleeping in a stranger's home felt insane. To solve that, Airbnb created one of the most powerful trust systems online, a multi-layer identity verification process that included government IDs, face matching, real phone numbers, email verification, and optional social media checks. On top of that, there were fraud detection tools constantly running behind the scenes. Here's the interesting part. A single verification method doesn't make people feel safe, but when you stack several signals together, something changes in your mind. You start to feel like the system has done the homework for you. You feel protected. You feel like you know who you're dealing with. 90% of people complete the verification process, and cases involving identity fraud are extremely rare. Now let me bring this into your world. Imagine you are a marketing agency. Instead of just having a contact form, your website shows a clear founder introduction video, a team page with real faces, client logos you've worked with, certifications, and a few behind-the-scenes clips of how you operate. That instantly removes a huge chunk of doubt. If you run an e-commerce brand, imagine showing real product photos, warranty badges, and a clear returns policy instead of relying on generic images. If you're a coach, imagine showing proof of credentials, transparent refund terms, and a simple welcome video explaining who you are and what you stand for. People trust what they can see, and stacking trust signals is one of the easiest ways to increase conversions within a few days. Framework 2. Two-way reviews. Let's talk about reviews, because Airbnb did something that changed the entire game. Most platforms only allow customers to review sellers. Airbnb made it a two-way street. Hosts review guests, guests review hosts. Then they took it one step further. Neither person can see the other's review until both have submitted. This prevented revenge reviews and protected honest feedback. It sounds small, but it completely changed the behavior of millions of people. Because when you know you'll be reviewed, you act better, you communicate better, you clean better, you show up differently. And when both sides know they're being evaluated, you get accountability at scale. That's why 70% of stays on Airbnb end up with a review. That's an insane number compared to the rest of the internet. Hosts with strong reviews earn more money per stay. Guests with strong reviews get accepted faster. Reputation becomes portable. You carry it with you wherever you go. So how do you apply this idea to your business? Imagine you run an agency. Instead of you reviewing clients privately, you create a short end of project evaluation where both sides rate communication, clarity, and responsiveness. And you show that system publicly on your website to demonstrate transparency. Imagine you teach a course. At the end of each module, students leave feedback about the lesson, and you leave personalized notes thanking them for their effort or reminding them of upcoming tasks. This increases engagement dramatically. If you run a local service business, like house cleaning, plumbing, or landscaping, you send customers a simple rating link as soon as the work is done, and you ask them to upload a photo of the finished job. That instantly boosts trust for the next buyer. Framework 3. Host guarantee. In 2011, something happened that could have killed Airbnb. A host's home was completely destroyed during a stay. The news spread fast, and suddenly people were worried that hosting strangers could ruin their lives. Instead of downplaying it, Airbnb responded with something massive. They introduced the host guarantee program that covered damages up to $3 million. It was bold, it was expensive, and it instantly told the world that Airbnb takes responsibility seriously. Here's the psychology behind it. People fear loss more than they desire gain. If they think the risk is too high, they won't move forward. By eliminating the fear of a catastrophic outcome, Airbnb restored confidence. Bookings bounced back by 40% within 3 months. Now think about how this applies to your business. If you run an agency, imagine telling a client that if the first month doesn't show real movement, they don't pay for month 2. That level of confidence can close deals faster. If you run a coaching program, imagine offering a try the first module guarantee where students can explore the content and get a refund if it's not a fit. If you run an online store, imagine offering a 90-day return window with no complicated rules. If you provide a local service, imagine saying that if the customer isn't happy with the work, you fix it again for free. Guarantees aren't a sign of weakness. They're a sign that you believe in your product so strongly that you're willing to take away the risk for the customer. Airbnb proved this dramatically when properties offering full protections saw an immediate rise in bookings. Framework 4. Secure payment escrow. Money is emotional. When people feel unsafe with payments, they hesitate. Airbnb solved this with a simple idea. When a guest books a stay, Airbnb collects the money but does not release it to the host until 24 hours after check-in. This protects the guest from scams and protects the host from no-shows or fake reservations. This positioned Airbnb as the trusted intermediary, a neutral party holding the funds until both sides are satisfied. It lowered disputes to almost nothing. Let's translate this into your world. If you run a service business, imagine splitting payments into milestones. A client pays a deposit to start the project. They pay the next part when they approve the strategy. They pay the final part when the work is delivered. If you freelance, you can use safe payment tools that hold the funds so both sides feel secure. If you run a high-ticket program, you can take a small deposit to hold someone's spot and collect the rest after onboarding. If you run a renovation or local service company, you can use a half-now, half-later model that reduces everyone's stress. People buy faster when they feel like the money is protected. It creates a calmness in the decision-making process. Framework 5. 24/7 support. When you're serving millions of stays, something will go wrong every single day. Locks stop working, guests misunderstand instructions, hosts panic over last-minute changes, and if you don't respond fast, you lose trust instantly. Airbnb built a 24/7 support system across more than 60 languages. Artificial intelligence answers basic questions. Human agents handle complex or emotional situations. And 90% of issues get resolved within 24 hours. Now here's what you can take from this. Even if you're a one-person operation, you do not need 24/7 staff. You just need clear expectations and smart systems. For example, you can publicly state that all messages will be answered within 2 hours during business hours. You can add a simple chatbot that handles frequently asked questions. You can create a dedicated email for urgent issues. And you can offer priority support to your best customers. When people feel heard quickly, they trust you. And this matters a lot. Airbnb found that hosts who reply within an hour get more than double the number of bookings. Framework 6. Community standards. Trust doesn't just come from adding good people. It also comes from removing the wrong people. Airbnb built clear rules around discrimination, safety, cleanliness, property accuracy, and guest conduct. They use automated tools to detect issues and human teams to make decisions when things get messy. If someone breaks the rules repeatedly, the outcome is predictable. First they receive a warning, then temporary suspension, then a permanent ban. Because of this structure, more than 99% of stays happen without any safety incidents. Now think about your business. If you run an agency, you can create a client code of conduct. It can include things like respecting timelines, avoiding last-minute scope changes, or keeping communication professional. If you run a course, you can set expectations that students participate respectfully, complete certain tasks, or maintain a positive environment. If you run an online store, you can commit to accurate product descriptions, QC checks, and fast shipping so customers know they're safe buying from you. When you define standards, you attract better customers. People actually prefer working with businesses that enforce structure, and they pay more for the consistency. Framework 7. Superhost program. In 2014, Airbnb launched something that became a psychological powerhouse, the Superhost program. It highlights the top 10% of hosts worldwide. To qualify, you need a rating above 4.8, at least 10 stays a year, extremely low cancellation rates, and fast responses. In return, you get a visible badge, better placement in search results, and priority support. And the results were massive. Superhosts earn more money, get more bookings, and build a stronger reputation. Now imagine using this idea in your business. If you run an agency, create a premier client tier. Clients who stay with you longer or hit certain milestones get priority strategy calls, priority support, or early access to new services. If you run a course, imagine having an elite student tier where top performers get featured case studies or extra sessions. If you run an e-commerce brand, imagine building a VIP club where loyal buyers get free shipping, early product drops, or surprise gifts. People love rising through levels. They love earning recognition. They love status. Airbnb simply turned that human desire into a growth engine. Let me summarize the heart of this entire video in simple language. If you want your business to feel trustworthy, you need identity signals. You need real feedback from real customers. You need some kind of guarantee that removes fear. You need a payment system that feels safe. You need clear communication and reasonable response times. You need rules that keep things clean. And you need a way to reward your best customers so they feel proud to be part of your world. You do not need to implement everything at once. Start with the first two ideas. After that, pick one more and apply it next month. Within weeks, people will treat your business differently because the experience of working with you will feel safer and more reliable. Airbnb didn't invent the idea of staying in someone else's home. That idea existed long before. What they invented was a system that made millions of strangers trust each other. Their real innovation was trust, not real estate. So here's the question I want you to think about. What is the biggest trust barrier in your industry? And which of these systems can remove it today? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want weekly deep dives on how the world's smartest companies actually grow, make sure you subscribe. And tell me in the comments what the biggest trust issue is in your business. I read every comment personally. In the next video, I'm breaking down a company that used a strategy even crazier than Airbnb's. A strategy that makes zero sense at first, but becomes genius when you understand how it works. You don't want to miss it.